Hello everybody, welcome to the United Front. This is your Manchester United transfer news. Two breaking news, because obviously this has come up recently. But Sesko, obviously that's the huge news that came out in the morning. He picked United over Newcastle. Huge news, we've been waiting for that a while. And obviously another one, United approached Baleba. I mean, look, I've been talking about him for a while now, about it's unrealistic or whatever, but United have been looking at him for the past few weeks. So yeah, really big show. So let's get to it. So obviously none better to start with Sesko. Now obviously, look, I mean, this has probably been our quickest transfer window this summer. I mean, you know, look, we saw it with Cunha, we saw it with Mboma, especially with Mboma, which took a long time, in doing, and obviously, look, if we were going to do this with any other player, then it would be the same thing, take long, and obviously we'd probably sign him even after we played 3 games. So, but with Sesko, we got the deal done, but mainly because of Newcastle. I mean, it's almost as if we needed another team to help us, get the deal done. Otherwise, with Mboma, it was only like no other clubs were interested apart from like Newcastle coming in and out. And then obviously that's what made us get over the deal quickly. It was the same with Sesko, like, apart from the fact that they were actually interested, putting a bid in not only once, twice. So, but you kind of felt like, well, no agreement has been, put in place. So you're probably thinking he probably choose United, Sesko. And as soon as we put our bid in, it was only until last night he actually wanted to choose United. And obviously this huge news of Sesko choosing United, obviously, great news, good news. All we have to wait for is, Fabrizio, here we go. But obviously, obviously it's huge. I mean, like, this has probably been our quickest, how long has this deal been done? Like, probably 2 weeks we were looking at, to be honest. I mean, the only time we were looking at Sesko was, when it was at Arsenal, here we go, because everyone thought, it was, it was possible for us to hijack, it was a possible hijack for us to, for Gyökeres, but obviously, it was a here we go, and that's it. So technically it was between him and Gyökeres, Sesko and Watkins, but obviously, United made it clear that they wanted Sesko. So yeah, so obviously Sesko reached full agreement with Manchester United, personal terms deal until June 2030, and he said he only wanted United. Obviously talks with RB Leipzig now the focus. Obviously Newcastle paid more, but they've accepted it because that's what Sesko wants. Still no agreement with RB Leipzig, but obviously he wants United. That was the important thing to say. What Sesko wanted. Obviously he wanted United. All we have to wait for is the here we go. So, it's obviously huge news, and everything. I just want to say something as well. Let me just change it. So yeah, obviously we thought, we could get a here we go today. Obviously it could happen this week, maybe tomorrow, but I think it's positive because, at least he's there before the Arsenal game. At least he can have a training session with us, probably in the time. If the medical and everything ends, at the end of the week. So, but I just want to say something about Sesko. Now, I've seen videos on, when it comes to stats and comparing with Xerxes and Højlund, and a lot of people have been saying, he's got a better conversion rate, XG, whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, it's so funny because, those kinds of stats were compared with Højlund and Xerxes before they were ever United players. And it's funny because people saying, oh, Sesko is higher than Xerxes and Højlund. But what's funny is that Xerxes and Højlund kind of had similar numbers. Not high, I would say, but, you know, certainly Rasmus, I think he had 2.8%. I don't know. I think it's 12.8% conversion rate. Not far off from Sesko's, but, you know, they had certain stats like that, and obviously people say, oh, Sesko is better. I'm laughing, thinking to myself, we understand he's got more conversion rates or whatever the stat is, but he's doing it in a different league. Rasmus and Xerxes had those types of stats before they even moved to the Premier League, and you see their numbers before, and as soon as they reached in the Premier League, it's decreased. Now, I'm not saying and I'm hoping that, you know, oh, it will happen with Sesko. I hope it doesn't happen. But when people get excited and guys say, oh, he's got a high conversion rate than them, that's in the Bundesliga. If he replicates that in the Premier League, that's very good. But that's not the type of comparison where I would say, oh, he's got a higher XG or a conversion rate than those Rasmus and Xerxes, because them two are in the Premier League, whereas Sesko is in the Bundesliga, and numbers can change when you're changing in a different environment, different league. So, you know, I mean, if you wanted a certain comparison, if we went for Watkins and his numbers were high, that makes sense because he's a Premier League proven. His numbers show, I mean, the numbers of stats he has are in the Premier League. That's the type of comparison that makes sense, not Sesko, because different league, different environment, different pace of the game. And again, Højlund and Xerxes, they were in Serie A as well. They probably had numbers like that as well until they joined Manchester United. Obviously, numbers like they had before decreased. So, you know. And also one more thing. I mean, I don't know if it's Newcastle fans being pissed or whatever, but I mean, I've been hearing, I've heard from United fans as well saying that, oh, he's average, he's not worth 80 million. I mean, it's amazing that the fact that we get a new signing and, you know, he hasn't even held up the shirt. You know, he hasn't even been considered a here we go United player and what so, and he's already getting criticism. And it's like, this is like, look, it might happen with every fan base, with every club, but with Manchester United it's different because pressure's there, it is different. The fan base, the toxic fans, you know, it's just a joke. I mean, like, look, I saw this from a comment from some guy who said Sesko was third option, and I was the same. Sesko was a third option for me. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's because the other two that were ahead of him were Osimhen and Gyökeres. Obviously, Gyökeres being first, and Osimhen was after. But obviously, one went to Arsenal, one went to Galatasaray. Where did that leave us? Left us with Sesko possibility, you know? And it was almost like, could we do the deal because Arsenal backed away and we're broke in terms of finance? So, you know, but, I mean, look, we got the deal done. Look, all we have to do is wait for here we go. But, I mean, this is the state of our fan base. I mean, already going over a player where he hasn't even, you know, he hasn't even made even appearance. He hasn't even hold up the shirt and already he's getting criticism. I mean, it's funny, but for those that are real United fans, you back him. I don't care, even if it was fucking Nicholas Jackson that I don't even want at Man United. Let's just say we signed him. I still back him. No matter how much I didn't want this transfer to happen, I still back him. Because I'm not going to be one of those people where I'm going to hate along watch a certain player. I'm going to hate along, you know, how he plays or whatever. I'm going to find ways to criticize. You know, that's the same with AMORIM Alters. They're just waiting for a game where, you know, where he loses or plays badly. You know, this happened last season with Ten Hag where we won against Fulham. We opened the Premier League and people say, oh, top of the table. We lose to Brighton, sacked in the morning. It's crazy. Like, you just look for one game. You look for one area where you can criticize a player or a manager, and that's it. I mean, these people do it for clicks and views or whatever. And look, that's just United. That's just some United fans for you, because you know negativity gets you views and whatever. So you know, but you know, we all know this. It's the state of our fan base, and you know, and look, hopefully, for those real United fans, we back him and you know, give him confidence or whatever. Because look, of course, there are gonna be some knobheads saying that we expect 20 goals. Look, he could possibly do that, but again, you're just putting pressure on someone that you know might not do it. Now, obviously, look, we paid 80 million, of course, but it takes time for someone to get into a new team, new environment, whatever. So you know, it's just amazing. Nah, nothing there. So yeah, you know, it's just amazing. I mean, you know, we need to back players up. I did this. Look, I'm trying to think of a player. I mean, look, I said with Jackson, I'll back him even though I don't want him. That doesn't mean, look, the only time you're gonna see me hate on watch or whatever is when it's not even Manchester United, or whether it's a rival like Liverpool or City or Arsenal. You know, that's what you call a hate on. Hating on players that play for Man United that are a new signing, you just got no life. You know, again, it goes with AMORIM as well. You know, you don't think, look, we made these signings, now people are going to expect AMORIM to do well. If he wins, you know, against Arsenal, people say, oh, we're back. But if we lose to somehow Burnley or Fulham, people say sack him in the morning. Look, and this is coming from negative United fans, you know. They want a reason why to sack AMORIM. It happened with Ten Hag, it happened with Oli, it happened with Mourinho, it happened with Van Gaal, it happened with Moyes. You know? It's like deja vu with every manager. You know? Look, obviously some managers that I've named, but they probably had to go. But with AMORIM, it's a bit unfair, because people are saying, even before, you know, the season ended last season, people saying he doesn't deserve a second year. And I'm thinking to myself, you expect someone who came in the middle of a season to somehow get a manager bounce. I'm glad we didn't even get a manager bounce, because if he got this manager bounce and we started playing good football, this shit that we're seeing right now that we've cleared, like Rashford, Anthony, Garnacho, you know, they were gonna come later on. So I'm glad that's even, you know, showed to us and everything. Even the Europa League final, despite how gutted I am losing it, in some ways I'm glad, because you know, it's like those certain people that turned up, you know, like Bruno, you know, played great in that competition, but then turn up for the final. Ahmad, same. You know, it's like you turn up for every other game, but you don't make it matter when it came to the final. Like, it's just stupid. But, you know. And look, one more thing as well I want to say about Sesko. You know, I know it's not here we go, whatever, and we talk about the player, but I do want to say one thing. People saying he's 6'5", he's tall, you know, Zlatan, whatever. And people say, oh, well, he's going to score headers. And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, where have you been for the past, like, few years? We had Weghorst, who was bloody 6'4", tall striker. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? If Man United can put a lot of crosses into the box, he might get a few headers on it and he probably might score a lot of goals. You know? Never happened. Absolutely never happened. Why? Maybe because Ten Hag didn't really play him at striker, or when Ten Hag actually played him up front, none of our players, not even wingers, not even our fullbacks were crossing a lot, which was actually pissing me off, because you had Shaw, you had Dalot, which actually have good deliveries on them, and they never did it that much. So what makes you think Sesko coming in, and because of his height, you're going to see him score a lot of goals? You do realise he's playing for Man United, a team that don't give you service. Now, obviously, we got Cunha and Boma, but there's still cracks to be made. You know, my worry is, look, but Dorgu, amazing player, you know, impressed with him this pre-season. But there was one moment where, against Everton, you know, he was down that left-hand side and he was supposed to cut it back to Rasmus. He never did it. He went for the shot. And I'm thinking to myself, you're just giving another reason why Rasmus gets frustrated. You don't give him the service that it is. What makes you think? What do you think Sesko's reaction is gonna be? It's gonna be the same. It's not even Sesko or Rasmus. It's with every striker. Give them what it's like giving, a kid nothing to eat. They need fucking food. It's the same with a fucking striker. Give them the ball, give them the chances, the service, and they'll fucking deliver. But no, I mean, look, we need to see, obviously, with Bruno, with whatever our team is. Look, Bruno, we all know, creates the most chances, not only in United, but in the whole of the Premier League. You got Cunning and Boma, not only score goals, but create goals. You got Dorgu, who runs down the wing and can put a decent cross in. You got Ahmad, who can, be creative, but also score goals at the same time. So, look, all I want is Sesko to not be another Højlund, another striker that doesn't get no service. Because, let me tell you something. I even made a comment about people saying Jackson was better than Højlund. No, it wasn't that. Someone said Jackson was better than Gyökeres, and I commented saying he's even better than fucking Højlund. And someone said, yes, he is. But I'm saying, well, you clown, he's not, because Jackson gets a little praise because of the goals he scores. The stats says it. But you have to understand, he gets service, and his conversion rate is still shit. Whereas Rasmus gets no service, but he's still more clinical than Jackson. If Rasmus was in that fucking Chelsea team, he'd score more goals. I'm not lying. We've seen this when he was in the Champions League, when he went on that run, scoring 6 games in 7 goals. Jackson only gets that many goals is because the service he gets. Otherwise, people want to talk about Nunez missing a lot of goals. Jackson was added to that list. Why do you think he was getting clowned every time? Because he kept missing chances. So, with Sesko, I hope it doesn't happen where he's absolutely not having no service. Because if this happens again with another striker, starving with no service, then you might as well play with a false 9. You might as well play, because I want to say this as well. In AMORIM's system, well, in any type of system, certain teams have a player where, it's played around them. Whereas City, their player, their anchor is Rodri. Everything's played around him. That's how they, become this, unbeatable team. Maybe Liverpool with Salah, Saka or Odegaard or Rice for Arsenal, Bruno for us. With AMORIM, everything that's played around him in this system goes to the striker. That's why where you saw Gyökeres scoring a lot of goals, not because in the league he was, because the ball, everyone knew where the ball should be, and that's going to the striker. I'm not saying or City don't do it with Holland. No, I'm not saying that, but they play differently. Whereas AMORIM wants the ball where it's supposed to be, and that's to the striker, and he delivers. So hopefully Sesko comes in. Obviously we get the here we go and everything. But obviously, he gets what he wants and deserves, and that is getting fucking service. So, but yeah. Anyway, let's go to the other breaking news. Baleba. So, look, this is obviously coming from Fabrizio. Wait, let me just check. I should have this bloody prepared. No, we get that. Yeah. So Manchester United approached Carlos Baleba's camp this week to be informed on player situation. Obviously, Brighton plan to keep Baleba at the club as the price tag would be very high, seen as difficult. Obviously, after Sesko, here we go, is done and everything, they plan to get midfielder next. So, as you guys know, it's not goalkeeper, doesn't it? It's midfielder. So, what do I think about this? Look, I've said this so many times, because people kept commenting on social media platforms by saying, let's get Baleba. And I keep telling myself, it's unrealistic. And do you guys know who we're dealing with? I mean, I've said this so many times. When you look at a certain player that you want, look at who he's playing for, and look at, you know, the transfer history of that club. You know, how they sell their players. Are they a selling club, or do they let player go for free like Man United? You know, you're saying Baleba. Obviously, everyone knows because in the Premier League, Brighton. Knowing Brighton, that should get you off your chest. Brighton are they're probably the best selling club in the Premier League without a shadow of a doubt. You know, I said it again. Baleba was a replacement for Caicedo. Caicedo at one point went for the British transfer record. You don't think they're going to do a Baleba? Look, I don't know who was better at the time in Brighton. You know, Baleba or Caicedo. You guys can say whatever. But you don't think Brighton would be asking for a lot of money? And that's why I said, and look, people say, oh, should we not go for Sesko and spend money on a goalkeeper and a midfielder? And I knew that midfielder was going to be Baleba. And I'm thinking to myself, so you're not willing to, spend money on Sesko, which is a lot of money, but you're willing to spend money on someone who's more than Sesko. And I feel like, you know what, that's just stupid. You know, but hearing this news, look, we weren't hearing news. We were interested FC at the time with Baleba, but obviously we approached him now, obviously since coming from Fabrizio, and obviously it even says here as well, Ruben Amorim since day one in United has wanted a midfielder similar to Carlos Baleba's profile. He wants intensity in the midfield and sees Baleba as a perfect target. Look, Baleba's a great player. I don't hate him. He's an amazing player. But why do you think there's a reason why no other club wants him? Because he's fucking expensive. Know who you're dealing with. It's Brighton. And look, he's an amazing player and everything, but where are we getting this money from? And people are, you know, pissing their pants by saying, oh my God, I don't recognize my club. I mean, I'm laughing, thinking to myself, you're talking as if we're run by Todd Bowley. Like we got this infinite money where we could just spend. Look, if we were owned by Todd Bowley, I'd be shirtless by now. But we're not. We're owned by INEOS, broke FC. I don't know where we're getting this money from. Of course, even if we went for him, it'd be installments. But where is this money coming from is my question. So, you know, I mean, it just doesn't make sense, to be honest. I mean, look, I like him as a player, but do you really see this happening? I don't see this happening. Look, shot me again. Look, maybe would we get him before the end of the transfer window? I mean, I don't know. We're definitely not getting him before Arsenal. I'll tell you that right now. But look, I mean, see, you know what it is. You know what it is. I don't even mind Baleba. It's just the fact that this relates to Bruno Fernandes. Had we taken that £100 million, we wouldn't hesitate to go for Baleba. Now, we're broke. I don't know how we're going to get funds for this. And if you're fucking INEOS, have you made a mistake in not selling Bruno? Because you're not making this this transfer without no money. Because they put it in details that how they got over the Sesko deal, and it included Rashford, sell-on clauses, sacking the staff work. Where you gonna get the money for Baleba? There's only one way, and that's selling Bruno. You know, again, this is what I mean. Look, Amorim wants someone that fits the system. Bruno, world-class player and everything, but he does not fit the system. Baleba does. So selling Bruno, you know, and getting Baleba. Look, I know. I wish it was never a thing. But we bought Cunha, we bought Mbeumo. Where the fuck do you think Bruno's gonna play? In the 8. You're not gonna see Mbeumo on the bench because you don't spend 60 million for a bench player. You know, so look, for this deal to happen, you need to sell Bruno, and this is where it goes like, oh, should we have sold him? You know, the only way we can do this, go to Al Hilal, call them up, say, you're still interested with Bruno, you know, and they say yes we are. So you want to do negotiations now? So, you know, I mean, this is the only way. I mean, this is the only way we can get Baleba. Otherwise, I see this as more of a delusion. Well, not delusion. I see this unrealistically because I've said this so many times. He's expensive, great player and everything. Knowing it's Brighton, they're going to ask for a lot of money. So, but look, it's great. Look, I wouldn't say it's amazing news. I'd probably say it's not what you expected from United, because as soon as we get agreement from Sesko, we go straight to Baleba, and it's like, well, what the hell is going on? So, it's almost like unexpected. Oh wow, here we go, Darwin Núñez out. So yeah, I mean, they want that bloody money back. They want that money for Isak. Is unreal. So yeah. But yeah, it's obviously exciting news. I wouldn't say it's good news in a way that, we put a bid in or whatever, because we do need money and we're broke. So I don't know how we're gonna do this deal unless we sell Bruno. So, I mean, I'm not gonna say, well, forget about it, because obviously he's coming from Fabrizio, but the only way we're gonna get this deal done is selling Bruno. So yeah. I want to talk about AMORIM. So I know this is gonna be the question for not only from me but from media, from news reports or whatever, by saying, has AMORIM been backed? Now obviously we got Sesko, obviously not. Still, here we go to be done. Cunha and Bromo. Now, if we get Baleba, if we get a goalkeeper, then you could be asking the question, has AMORIM been backed? Now, seeing obviously AMORIM being backed and everything, I'm not going to say he isn't getting backed. Of course he is. Of course he won his players that he'd want earlier. But, I mean, getting Cunha and Bromo and obviously Sesko, I mean, transfer windows getting to a 6. I'd rate it as a 6. Obviously, if we got a midfielder and goalkeeper, it'd go higher. But you can't just say it hasn't been backed or whatever, because he wanted Cunha, here's Cunha. He wanted Mboma, here's Mboma. Obviously, Gyökeres wanted Arsenal, so you can't really say AMORIM. You can't really say, well, AMORIM was sorry, but he wanted Arsenal, so can't do anything about that. He wanted Sesko, close to Sesko now. Obviously, he wanted a midfielder. Baleba, obviously one of the names coming up. There's obviously him mode. Obviously, at the time there was Douglas Luiz, Edison, and goalkeeper. He does want a new goalkeeper. So look, if he gets those two positions, I'd say. I wouldn't say there should be no excuse. I'd say he's being backed, but he still needs a lot of players. If we get goalkeeper, look, he signed 3. Goalkeeper, midfielder, that's 5. I still think he needs 2 more, and I feel like that's it. I don't feel like there's no excuses, but obviously we'd have to wait for next year to happen if he's still in the job. But at this moment in time, you can't say he hasn't been backed. I mean, he's got a front 3 which is absolutely, ruthless on paper, hoping to be the same when it's on the pitch. So, obviously he's exciting. Sesko, Cunha and Broma in front. I mean, I can't wait for that, obviously, on opening day. But, I wouldn't say, I'm not going to be one of those people where it says, oh, it's no excuse. Because there were people saying, apparently, oh, he's got Cunha, no excuse. Oh, he's got Mboma, no excuse. I'm not going to be one of those people. When he gets those 5-7 players, or maybe he gets a goalkeeper and a midfielder, then I'd probably say, you know what, make something happen. But that hasn't happened, and apart from that, it looks good. It looks good. I mean, I don't know how we're doing it since we're broke, but I mean, it's just amazing to see. Look, it'll be absolutely ecstatic when we get, a midfielder, especially the midfielder we want, which most people want is Baleba, and and a goalkeeper. And look, if you ask me which midfielders I want, look, obviously, look, I'd probably do a video on it, you know, about comparing midfielders or whatever. I said Palacios from Leverkusen, but obviously we haven't been into him. Again, irrelevant, but I'd be happy with Baleba, you know. But again, if we get Baleba, one of those midfielders has to move, because look, I hope it's Casemiro, because he's gonna be free next year, and then obviously if Bruno goes and then Casemiro goes next year, we're gonna have to buy another midfielder. So we might as well chop with it. But you know, and obviously goalkeeper, I take Donnarumma all day. I mean, world class keeper. I mean, why would you not have him? You know, he's willing to go. Does he want to go United? You know, is he willing to not have European football? Who knows? So, you know, look, I mean, look, what do you guys think? I'm pretty sure you guys are different. I'm pretty sure you guys have a different midfielder, probably different goalkeeper. Some people would say Le Mans. Some people would still want to go for Emi Martinez. So, people are different, but, you know, it is the United front after all. You know, I mean, just because you have an opinion that's different to mine doesn't mean you're wrong. You just have a different preference. So, you know, but anyway, that's the end of the show. Once again, another banger. And yeah, I mean, honestly, busy. I'm losing my throat, but great day, a very good day. Hopefully tomorrow we'll probably get a here we go. Maybe 12 a.m. when I'm probably still awake, we'll probably get here we go. I mean, who knows? But surely, minimum here we go will probably come out tomorrow. So, you know, it could happen today. You know, I do one show obviously at 8 o'clock because you never know. It was personal terms agreed, and obviously it could have happened. Here we go at 8 o'clock, but obviously still yet to wait for that. But you never know. Tomorrow it could happen. So, you know. But anyway, is there anything else? I don't think there is. How many days left? 3 days left to the Fiorentina game. So, you know, oh my god, I'm losing my voice. So yeah, intrigued to watch that game. I might do the watch along for the Community Shield, maybe. Just from a neutral perspective, but apart from that, obviously Fiorentina game still yet to come. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Like, share, subscribe, anything else, comment, whatever, on who would you guys want as midfielder and goalkeeper. Are you guys happy with Sesko as the striker? Apart from that, thank you. Take care. See you in the next one.